Welcome, everybody. Wow, that was really loud. Welcome, everybody. We're gathered here today to celebrate an incredible woman. We're going to celebrate the life of Barbara Dean Bowling. Now, together we remember Barbara, who was a blessing to so many of us, who was a light in so many of our lives. And we affirm the eternal state of life. It's only natural for us to mourn and to feel that loss. But at the same time, we can be comforted and uplifted in our conviction that Barbara is going on to the next stage of life, and she is free from the bonds of her earthly life. As we know that birth and death are but doorways which we all must travel in the journey of eternal life. We may be saddened by the grief of personal loss, but for the departing soul, there is freedom, there is a new dawn as they move forward to the new phase of life. And it is our prayer that from this time forward, we may think of Barbara not as limited by time, by form, but always free as a living soul, continuing her pathway ever centered in the Father's divine love. I'd like to start with a prayer today. Heavenly Father, we acknowledge your presence and power with us today as we gather in memory of our friend and loved one. We feel your presence as the love that sustains us, the peace that comforts us, the power that strengthens us, and the understanding that enables us to know that life is eternal and that this loved one is ever one with you and all that is good. As we continue here during this time together, we know that your comforting presence will be felt. We also know that this quickened awareness of your presence brings with it the power to meet this experience in love and in gratitude. For we are grateful and we affirm that it is so in the name and through the power of your loving, living presence. Amen. And now I would like to invite Waverly and Dennis Reed up with Lance, Dr. Ellis, and Michael for In the Garden.
You all are invited to join in this song. I put the words in the bulletin thing that you got. So this was one of my mom's favorite songs. And it's traditional. It's an old gospel tune. I come to the garden alone. Well, the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is raining. And he walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. It means so much. And I know that Barbara is here with us today. I feel so blessed to be in this role here today because I knew Barbara for many years, and she's such a beautiful soul, and I'm just so blessed. My name is Angie Keys, and I'd love to share a little bit about Barbara's life with all of you. So Barbara was born in 1930 to Winnie and Ernest Wilson. She had 9 siblings, and she grew up in Oklahoma and Texas. She grew up in a rural area, and she wrote, these are her own words, that some of my most pleasant memories have to do with the rural atmosphere. The animals, the farm, the rhythm of activities of summer, fall, spring, and winter. Barbara's family wasn't well off. She grew up during the Depression. But she always seemed to carry that light. She loved school, but she wasn't super pushed to do school, she said. She enjoyed it, and she felt like she was pretty good at it. But that became one of her passions in her later life. Barbara was passionate about education. She went from high school, got her bachelor's in home economics, got her master's in education instruction, and even got her doctorate in 1990 in leadership and human behavior. She spent her life teaching and learning. She taught middle school and high school, and she even created the programs for most of the high schools in this area for home economics. She was the district chair for home economics in her time. And one thing that I see in Barbara is just she was so strong. She was out there, she was creating a life based on what she loved and what she wanted, and she was so ahead of her time, stepping into roles that women at that time didn't have, typically. Her love of God and spirituality was also ever present. She grew up in a Southern Baptist church and even served as a Sunday school teacher for many years when she was older. Barbara met her husband, John Bowling, in 1951, and together they brought their children into the world. Rennie, Waverly, and a daughter, Natalie, who passed at birth. Barbara was passionate about her family as well and shared time with her family, with her daughters cooking, teaching them how to entertain and how to be proper. She loved to entertain and would have people over and even open her house to people in need, or I think people she just wanted to get to know better. Such a beautiful, beautiful soul. Now, in 1972, she and her husband divorced, and she was searching. She was studying a lot of different religions, and she found unity. And once again, she became a teacher, because that's who she was. She studied, and she became a licensed unity teacher, and she showed up as a spiritual mentor for many people, including me. I was one of the lucky ones. Her love of God and wisdom and compassion touched so many lives. She was inquisitive and strong. Barbara's love for her family, for the people around her, showed through everything. Her wisdom, that's what stood out to so many people I spoke to, is she's so wise and so loving. It was such an honor to sit with Waverly and Rennie and hear their stories about their mom. There was so much laughter, so many smiles, and touching stories. It was such a blessing. And I remember what stands out to me about Barbara was her laugh, right? Her joyful laugh, her smile, her wisdom, and her ability to really see you when you spoke to her. She was very present. So, Anyway, she was such a beautiful soul, and she has done so much in her life. She was, of course, a wife, a mother, a student, a teacher, a counselor, and one of the most adventurous souls I've ever known. She traveled. She got out there in the world, and she wasn't afraid to take chances. And I believe that's why we're all here today, just that beautiful, beautiful energy that she shared with all of us. When I asked her daughters what she would want people to know, they said that she would say, live your life to the best of your ability. Get out there, do what you want to do. Create a life for yourself and shine your light, because that's what she did. She shone so brightly and so beautifully. So in the later years of her life, like I said, she traveled a lot. She met a man named Ray Thwaites, who became a good friend and companion. She continued her life with Unity Church, and even up until recently was still coming to this church. And once again, we're all so blessed. So thank you so much for being here today. We are going to go into, I apologize, we're going to be going into an Ahsokan farewell, and then into a slideshow to celebrate the life of Barbara Bowling. Thank you. So I'd like to invite Dr. Ellis Schweid up for the Ahsokan farewell. What a beautiful way to remember Barbara. I love that so much. Such a beautiful woman, inside and out. Now we've come to a time where friends and family can share, if you'd like to, about Barbara. So I'd invite you to come up and share your name and how you know her, and then whatever you want to share in memory. Do we have anyone?
I hope that you forgive me for bringing my cell phone up with me. I know. And of course, because I have lots of notes here. First of all, I just want to say thank you to my sister Waverly. She pretty much put this all together. She's been with Mom for the last, 15 years here in Southern California, attending to her needs. And I just say, I love you, Waverly, and thank you for that. I live in Washington, so I haven't had the opportunity to be with her the way Waverly has, and so very appreciative. The things, I just want to say what she's taught me, what she passed on to me. Love of beauty. She was appreciative of the arts because she grew up knowing about them, but really wanting to know more. And so for Waverly and I, she gave us piano lessons. She took us to museums. She took us to art museums. She decorated our homes beautifully. And I learned the color lavender from my mom because she made us dresses that were, when we were very, very small, she made us these dresses that were made out of lavender. Another thing that my mom has given me is perseverance. She, at a time that when she was, when women were not encouraged to go to college, she went to college. And I've always really respected that about her. It's just a beautiful trait that she had, the desire to know and the desire to learn, and then to share what she learned. And, you know, whatever obstacles came along, she would, what her expression was, is this too shall pass. She didn't stay mired in them. She kept going. Whether it was medical issues or whether it was issues on the job, she kept going. The other thing that I got from her is the compassion that she had for people. And at one point, she invited some family, and one of her students to come and stay in the home when they didn't have a place to go, or when she thought that she could help them. So she did that. She also supported many charities. I just want to say that in there. And in fact, one of the charities today is one of the ones that if you are so inclined, that you can contribute to. How precious and family and friends are. We had many family holidays that we spent together. Christmas Eve was always the big time. But during summers, we would get together with friends and family and with church people. I mean, there were all sorts of banquets that we would go to and that was part of Mom's thing, that we would do that. And I would say that the love of God is another thing that Mom passed on. By her example, you would see her pray, and she would pray with you. And her life spoke her love of God. And then, of course, there was the sense of adventure. She traveled, something that I picked up. I still want to go other places, and I will too. So anyway, she gave me that. But I think most of all, it's love. Love. Love is, for me, is the energy of relationships. And I think we only have to look around today to see that she loved and that she was loved. I will miss her. I would call her every night for the last probably 4 or 5 years, and we would have conversations, and there were times that she would actually tell me that she was holding the phone away because I would babble so much, but she still listened. And all these distractions here. But I will miss her, and I love her very much, and I know that she's here now in spirit. And Mom, we love you.
Would anyone else like to come up and share? Well, I can share a little until someone thinks of something. Like I said, Barbara was really a mentor to me spiritually. And when I first met her, I had small children, and she was always expressing love. Like you said, yeah, just she was love and expression. And she didn't just know about spirituality, she lived it. She was such a beautiful model of spirit and love and adventure. And once again, I just can't stop thinking of her laughing. Okay, I think we have someone who'd like to talk. Come on up, Connie.
Hello, I am Barbara's friend, Connie. My goal this week was to get over my cough so I could speak at her funeral, her memorial service. We've been friends for almost 50 years. She was going through her PhD, and we had a mutual friend who bought some tickets for a house tour in Laguna Beach, and that's when we met. And Barbara and I were just like two peas in a pod. We had this friendship for almost 50 years, never any disagreements. We got along real well. She was very compassionate and loving, and I didn't have any relatives, and so I was just taken into her family and treated like one of their own. And we had our shopping trip every other Friday. That went on for years. We'd go to a movie and have lunch and go shopping. And it was a very calm friendship, just no strife. We had our little differences from time to time. She had her teacheritis where she needed to be right. And I had my, I need to prove my memory is better. But other than that, we got along, and it was just a very, very comfortable friendship, like two peas in a pod. And we had a lot of the same interests in learning all the time and socializing. I'm not religious, she was, but we got along real well. And it was like one of the biggest benefits of my life is to have a friendship with her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Reed. I was Barbara's son-in-law for well over 30 years. We never got along. She was a contentious person. We argued over, no, not really at all. I don't recall ever having a harsh word for her or she for me. We didn't always agree on everything. But as everybody said, there was this light about her that even if you were in disagreement, it was okay. It was okay. And it was okay with her too, which I think is really important. So I hate to be redundant, but I mean, everything that's been said is so much of what, if you knew her, that you would write down as her qualities that drew you to her. And, you know, being a mother-in-law is a tough role. Being a son-in-law is a very tough role. So considering that, the only thing that I can remember that at least has an element of humor to it is Barbara often spoke at Unity Chapel by the Sea as a guest pastor. gift sermon. And Waverly was a little shocked by this, but during one of her services, she said, "And I hope that my son-in-law, the songwriter, writes a big hit so he can get a big house for my daughter to live in." Sad to say, we live in a relatively small house.
And that's okay.
Does anyone else have anything to share? Awesome, thank you.
Got to stand close to her. Well, I don't have anything prepared, but I have to stand up for her. Oh, God. She was my dad's sister, so my aunt, and so a part of my life, very close. So, and also, my mother died relatively young. She was almost 72. So that was before I got married and had 2 children. So she was a big part of their lives too. Like a surrogate mother or grandmother for them. So yeah, always sending birthday gifts, you know, remembering all the time, every year. And even though we lived in far away from here, first Michigan, then Pennsylvania, although I grew up around here, that's how we were close. So anyway, I know she lives in me and will always be with me. I love her so much. Yes. Come up here, Marilyn. My sister. Do you want to come up here? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She was. She was a good friend to Mom and to our dad's second wife, Terry, who was not easy to get along with, but Barbara could. So, yeah. And we were lucky enough to have Barbara also live with our dad for 4 years, something. Yeah, later in life up in Palmdale, so she wasn't able to come here as often. But so we got to see a lot of her and spend a lot of time with her more recently. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I also just want to say that this is a safe space. If anyone just wants to get up and share, please feel free. We're here, to support and love you through whatever you want to share.
So my name is Mark, and I've been with Unity for a number of years. And one of the first person I met when I went to Unity, just down the street from here, was Barbara. And Barbara was this presence that was just wonderful and amazing. She had the greatest smile and laugh, as many of you know from being around her. And I met her when my girls were very young and I was going through a divorce. And we used to sit, I believe it was on Wednesday nights, and say prayers for the church and everything. That was her task at Unity for a long time. She also taught Sunday school and helped everybody out. And I can remember the first time I met Barbara's family, and Waverly and Dennis and Rennie. And then I had this little guy in Sunday school one day, and I sat him on my lap, and he couldn't sit still. And he struggled, and he struggled, and he struggled. And his name happened to be Mark. And I could no longer sit him in my lap than anything. But we became friends. And Barbara was just the sweetest thing. And I always gave her a hug, and she always hugged back and chuckled. And we just had that special connection for many, many years. And she will be missed. Thank you.
Hi. We moved to, my name is Stephanie Harnack, and we moved to Mission Viejo in 1990. And one of the first people I met at Unity was Barbara Bowling. And I have all those years of memories, but I was always just moved by how loving she was, and how it was like having an extra mom. And I have to share just, so she watched my boys grow up. And recently my son, my older son, has started to come back to Unity when he's in town. And so in the last couple of years, last couple of years since COVID, well, since we got back from COVID, he was with us. And I just have this beautiful memory of him seeing Barbara and hugging her and going to sit next to her, because he grew up with her, and it's like a really fun, I have bunches of memories, but that is like one of my favorites, of just seeing my son and Barbara just talking and chatting. And it was just so sweet. I will miss Barbara a lot.
Remembering Mom, I can remember several points in my life where I really had I needed her advice. And I had gotten in a little triangle with a young boy in junior high school, and I really liked this guy, but he liked my girlfriend. And so somehow he had another girlfriend who was an enemy of this other girlfriend. And he wrote a letter to me, and he called me a dirty name because I was on the wrong side, And I remember taking it, and I wrote this letter. I mean, it was full of venom, and I finally broke down and told Mom about it. And she said, "Let me read the letter." Well, what happened was, she said, "Tear up that letter and write him a nice response and just tell him you're sorry he felt the way he did, and that you're sorry that you hurt his feelings, and let it go. And such good advice for me. And I did what she said, and it worked out just fine. Everything was fine. And that's just the kind of things that Mom did throughout my life. She was always there when I needed her, but she allowed me to, be quite independent too. And that was a good thing. And I'm very thankful she was my mom. And also, I want to apologize because on the front of the program, the year is wrong. So take your pens out, the editor and me. It's 2024, not 1924. Somehow she reverted back. So, anyway. Thank you so much for being here too today. It means so much to us. Thank you.
I don't do this well. My name is Gene Ivey. I'm a nephew. I knew my Aunt Barbara a lot longer than most of you have. Because I was a kid back in 1950 before she married Uncle John. And she was an apple of my eye back then. She was the kindest. She was the kindest and loving person then, and she still is, and was now, and she still is. I see so much of her in you, both of you, for kindness, love. She was so good to me. I didn't see her as much as I wanted to, but I still wanted to many times. And I'm going to miss her terribly. She was a rock star too. Okay? All right. Here you are, Waverly. Thank you.
Anyone else feeling called to speak today? Okay. Well, we're going to be moving forward with Mama's Tree, written and performed by Michael Gardner.
Fact about my mom before we do this. My mom was born before she died. It's an interesting difference. Before my mama died, she gave to me a small indoor potted plant. It wasn't much to see, much to see. I gave it loving care that wasn't hard. When it finally grew too big, I planted it in the yard, out in the yard. That tree's got mama's patience, it's as strong as it can be. And and it reaches out its branches like it's reaching out for me. Mama's tree. When the trials of living are overwhelming me, I'll just step out back and tell my troubles to that tree, Mama's tree. It stands there faithfully, hearing every word, and it welcomes wind and rain and every singing bird, singing bird. That tree's got Mama's patience, it's as strong as it can be, and it reaches out its branches like it's reaching out for me, Mama's tree. Now when I'm in my backyard, where I love to be, is over in one corner, in the shade of this green tree, Mama's tree, Mama's tree, Mama's tree.
That was so beautiful. It really means so much to hear all those wonderful stories and just to see how much light Barbara shared with all of us. And that light's still here, and all those memories and all that love. So I'd like to give space, because sometimes we feel like there are unanswered or things that are left unsaid. And maybe there is something you wanted to share, but maybe didn't feel quite right about it, or something that you would like to have some closure around. I'm going to invite us all to take a moment of silence where you can speak that in your heart, knowing that you are connected with Spirit and that Barbara is knowing what you're saying. So we're just going to take a couple minutes in silence and feel free to release anything that you've been holding on to. And we know that these words, these thoughts, these feelings are going out and touching that love that Barbara is. Know that you are heard and you are loved. So as we move forward, we talk about what happens when people pass. And we know through Spirit that this is simply a separation of the soul from a particular body. The body is like clothing that we wear in this life. And then we move forward and we can release that to go on to the next experience of divine unfoldment. As one may lay aside their garment at the end of the day, so our loved one has laid aside the garment. Barbara has laid aside her garment. And although no longer visible to us, she continues on her soul journey, and she continues to shine from all that she has shared in her life. She will not be forgotten. And I'd like to invite Julie Miller up for Speed of Light.
I don't really care to perform, but I love messing around with microphones. We're going to do a song called Speed of Light by Julie Miller. I like this song because it describes, actually explains Einstein's theory of relativity in 2 lines. Pay attention. Barbara was a spiritual voyager. I don't know any other way to put it. She was not hemmed in by doctrine. She was not hemmed in by a particular name of a religion. She was seeking, I'm not sure if she knew, she was seeking a different place at a different time, and she did not let obstacles like what other people think get in the way of that.
Time and space are relative. Einstein said back when he lived, the only thing that doesn't change makes everything else rearrange. The speed of light, the speed of light. Your love for me must be the speed of light. Ellis. The man on the moon said the earth is blue, but you don't have to leave to know that's true. The only thing that doesn't change makes everything else rearrange. The speed of light, the speed of light. Your love for me must be the speed of light. must be the speed of light.
Such beautiful music here and amazing musicians. It's really a blessing to have you all here today. All right, well, I'm going to be finishing up with a closing prayer. I'm just going to invite you all just to take in all of that love and all of that energy that we've created here today, and just remember the beauty and the joy of who Barbara is. As we say, Divine Spirit, Father, we are grateful for the opportunity we have had to share in the life of Barbara Bowling. She has blessed each of us uniquely and wonderfully. We bless you, Barbara, on your continuing journey, and affirm that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Where you are, God is. We are sending so much love and light, Barbara, and knowing how blessed we've all been to know her. And so it is. Amen. And we're going to be joining the Reed and Warren family here for reception right over in the next room. I want to thank Waverly and Rennie for letting me be part of this. You are so beautiful, and the love that you have for your family is just amazing. Thank you so much.